name is Daryl Fields. I am a practicing neurosurgeon at University of Florida, Gainesville, but I spent some time at the University of Pittsburgh, at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, which gave me the opportunity to meet Josie for the first time several years ago. My training at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh gave me the opportunity to meet Tracy and her daughter. At around 3 o'clock in the early afternoon, they called Neurosurgery. I was the resident on call at that point. They told us there was a young girl who was in a ski accident. While there were several injuries that had occurred, we were called specifically because there was concern for a brainstem stroke. What that means is that there was a lack of blood flow to the bottom part of the brain, which in theory could be life compromising. At this point, I went to go examine Josie, and I had my first interaction with Tracy at that point as well. I got a more complete story of everything that led to Josie being brought to the hospital, and I began to appreciate that it wasn't just a simple stroke that she had experienced. Specifically, she had several different potentially catastrophic injuries, including an injury to her spleen. She had a moment of cardiac arrest. She had a pneumothorax. She had a theorized spinal cord injury. In addition, she had the brainstem stroke. I was called to examine as well as to give my evaluation of what the long-term prognosis was for Josie at this point. I sat down, spoke with both Tracy and Matt as far as what were the events preceding the hospital. We discussed what quality of life that Josie would have wanted, under the premise that some of the injuries that she had could have been life compromising. I then went and personally examined her, and I began to appreciate that while she did have several injuries, that in isolation, any one of these injuries could have been life compromising. So it begs to reason that these events, these 5 different injuries in combination, were definitely giving a grim prognosis. But when I looked at Josie myself, both her neurological exam as well as her vitals, I felt that she was demonstrating herself to be an anomaly in many ways. One, while she did have several injuries to her organ systems, she was hemodynamically, that means her vitals were stable. While there was an imaging analysis that had suggested she had a brainstem stroke, the neurological exam I had gotten was not consistent with that. That's why I spoke with Tracy, and then I immediately went down to the MRI scanner and said that we have a priority patient that needs further evaluation. The reason for the MRI is that it gives us a more refined evaluation of strokes. So while the initial CT scan suggested a stroke, an MRI is truly diagnostic. I didn't want to write off the chance that she could have a full capacity of life off of a CT scan. I wanted to make sure we had a full diagnostic scan. I then spoke with the family, spoke with Tracy again, and was very careful because while she did have an exam that showed promise for recovery, I didn't want to give false hope. Tracy expressed her understanding that this was a diagnostic test, but wouldn't necessarily give us any full picture of what the chance of recovery was, and we proceeded forward. We were fortunate that after the MRI scan, it showed that there was no brainstem stroke. That completely changed our trajectory, and we decided to immediately bring her to the operating room so that we could stabilize her spine, but also ensure that there wasn't any secondary injury to the brainstem or spinal cord due to instability. The days that followed that were all touch and go. Immediately after the surgery, we did not see a robust response of movement, but we did confirm that she had a stable spine. We did confirm that there was blood flow to the brain. Again, we couldn't tell you the long-term prognosis, but we had hope that the injury that was thought to be catastrophic was not as bad as initially deemed. Then Josie did most of the work. Josie and I would say the prayers from her family. I know that there was a constant stream of people who weren't allowed up in the ICU, but continued to pray for her down in the lobby, as well as Tracy and Matt were 24/7 available in her room. We're stimulating her by holding her hand, by having conversations, by playing TV shows and playing music for her. And then the rest was all Josie. Over the course of weeks, she continued to improve. This is a patient that we thought was not going to ever breathe again. But by the time that she left the hospital, she defied every odd. She began to move, she began to speak, she began to eat. And I just saw her today for the first time after several years. And you wouldn't be able to appreciate the hurdles that she had to overcome. She's a regular teenager. She's living life. She's enjoying living, and she wants to go to a pool party. It just speaks to the testament that I think often in medicine, we have this perspective that there's absolutes, that everything is finalized. You see a scan, you see a diagnosis, it's absolute, but that's not the case. And when a patient gives you a signal, a family gives you a signal that things are worth fighting for, I think you go full-fledged. And Josie's a beautiful testament that there's always an opportunity to defy odds.